It was supposed to be a fresh start. When Elise and her husband Daniel left the choking buzz of the city for a sprawling 19th century manor in rural Vermont, they believed they'd found peace. The kind of peace where you can hear the wind shift through the trees, the kind of silence that used to mean safety. But silence here meant something else. The house, Greystone Hollow, had been empty for nearly 50 years. A beast of carved stone and oak, it loomed at the end of a gravel path no GPS could locate. Villagers in the nearby town of Ashbrook only spoke of it in murmurs. Some refused to speak at all. When Elise asked about the last owners, the grocer only said, "That house has its own memory. Best not to wake it." They should have listened. On their first night, Elise swore she heard weeping. Not loud, just near, like a child crying behind a wall. Daniel brushed it off. "Old houses settle," he said. "Pipes groan." But Elise couldn't shake it. And the next morning, the mirror in the upstairs hallway bore handprints. Small, damp, and unmistakably real. Things escalated fast. Clocks stopped at 3:17 every night. Doors locked from the inside. The piano in the parlor played itself. Dissonant lullabies in the dark. Elise began dreaming of a woman in white pacing the third-floor hallway, whispering in a language she didn't recognize. Daniel, ever the skeptic, found scratches along his shoulders one morning, as if something had gripped him tight while he slept. Then came the cellar. They discovered it by accident. A false wall behind the pantry hid steep stone steps and rusted iron gates. Inside, dozens of dolls, their faces burned or melted, all arranged in a circle around an old phonograph. When Elise touched the needle, it played a recording of a prayer, half Latin, half something else, something that made her ears ring and her nose bleed. By the third week, they were sleeping with the lights on. Elise had started to see a girl in the orchard, barefoot and pale, watching from beneath the apple trees. Daniel refused to talk about the blood-stained curtains that reappeared no matter how many times he burned them. Their dog, Ash, wouldn't enter the dining room anymore. He would stand at the threshold, whimpering, tail between his legs. Desperate, Elise contacted a historian. What she learned chilled her to the bone. In 1872, Greystone Hollow had been the site of a religious commune, one that believed children were vessels to bridge the divide between life and death. They practiced communion rites, rituals meant to open portals to the other side. But after a series of unexplained deaths, all children, the commune disappeared overnight. Locals found the manor sealed with red wax and 13 dolls nailed to the front door. The village never spoke of it again, until Elise arrived. That night, she confronted Daniel. They had to leave. Now. But when she found him, he wasn't Daniel. Not anymore. His eyes were milky white. His voice was wrong. Too deep. Too hollow. He said her name like a curse and smiled with a mouth that wasn't his. She ran. Elise made it to the car, barefoot and screaming, but the engine wouldn't start. In the rearview mirror, she saw children, dozens of them, standing on the lawn, watching, bleeding from their eyes. She doesn't remember how she got out. The next thing she knew, she was in a hospital bed in Ashbrook, alone. No one ever found Daniel. No one ever believed her. But every year on that date, at 3:17 a.m., her phone rings. No number, no voice, just a whisper. Come home. The nightmares haven't stopped. Elise wakes up covered in dirt. She finds old photographs on her doorstep, black and white images of children with hollow eyes standing in the very rooms of Greystone Hollow. In one photo, she's in the background, but the photo is dated 1913. Now she questions everything. Was she chosen? Did the house summon her? Or had she been there before? The local librarian uncovered a record from 1914. A girl named Elizabeth Haller, age 8, vanished from the very property now known as Greystone. The image is grainy, but the face? It's hers. Her dreams now carry voices, overlapping chants, scratching at the edge of sleep. Doors open on their own. Shadows stretch too far. Mirrors show versions of herself that blink out of sync. She's begun waking up to find earth beneath her nails. Something is pulling her back, and she's starting to forget what her real life ever looked like. They say haunted houses trap souls. But what if the house remembers all its visitors? What if it waits? Greystone Hollow doesn't haunt, it calls. And once you've heard it whisper, you're already part of it. And now, the whisper has changed. It no longer says, "Come home." It says, "You never left." Elise's apartment in the city feels colder with every passing day. Objects rearrange themselves and her reflection moves a beat behind her. When she dreams, she sees Daniel, standing in the manor's library, holding one of the melted dolls, mouthing words she can't hear. And in those dreams, she watches herself, the 1913 version, standing beside him. The historian who helped her? He vanished last fall, his office emptied, his notes burned. The librarian in Ashbrook was found wandering the woods, barefoot, whispering the same phrase over and over again. It remembers. It remembers. And now Elise feels it. A pull stronger than gravity, an ache in her chest every time the clock nears 3:17. She's afraid to sleep, but awake is worse, because now the walls in her apartment are starting to whisper too. Do you like chilling true horror stories? Subscribe now for more terrifying tales, cursed history, and hauntings that never die. Because the scariest part, some houses don't forget you, and some whispers are real.